keeps compassion asleep? When I say asleep, it's what your ego falls asleep, because ultimately you need to choose to connect with your spirit, and it's the choice connected to your ego. And when the ego is asleep, it doesn't see any value in being compassionate. So these are characteristics of what keeps your compassion asleep, rather than waking it up and letting it participate in your life. One of the things that keeps it asleep is apathy and indifference, obviously. A person who is addicted to being apathetic, addicted to being indifferent. I'm going to not matter. Things don't matter to me. I don't care. I don't care. Whatever happens, I don't care. I'm indifferent and I'm apathetic. And as I've talked about before, and I'll mention really quickly here, hanging out and dancing with apathy and indifference for too long is very destructive, because in time, apathy and indifference always attracts and creates and breeds violence. It always is. The most apathetic communities in our world are the most hostile and the most violent, because it is a lack of caring and compassion for yourself or for other people that allows for the hostility, for the horrible violence against other human beings. And so it is, the first thing is when you flirt and hang out and go into places, I don't care, it doesn't matter, whatever happens, happens, I'm going to be indifferent and apathetic. And why people do that? Why would people do that? Because it numbs them to what they truly feel. It numbs them to the pain. It numbs them to the whatever is going on, their anger, their rage. So it feels like I'm more in control when I'm apathetic and indifferent. But unfortunately, it will eventually attract and create greater violence and hostility within yourself, within the reality that you create personally, and ultimately within the world. So that's the first thing that keeps compassion asleep, is apathy and indifference. The second one is arrogance. See, arrogance is a lack of compassion. To be arrogant is to be better than or less than. To be arrogant, you see, like a coin has two sides to it. And anything real in this illusion, has a duality. I've talked about that so many times. And even arrogance, most people know of the superiority and the I'm better than everybody else arrogance, because that's so easy to see and so easy to recognize. And so that's one side of the coin. But the other side is no, Michaiel, I'm nobody, I'm nothing. I know I hear you talk about this majestic spiritual being thing, but no, I'm nothing, I'm nobody, I'm worthless, I'm a sinner. That's arrogance. Because God got us all that has created you. And they don't make junk. And you're not. You've convinced yourself you're less than and nothing. And that's arrogant, because God got us all that is, says you deserve to thrive. You deserve to live your dreams. You deserve to have it all. You are a beautiful, majestic spiritual being. And your ego is saying, no, that's not true. I'm nothing. I'm worthless. You're wrong and I'm right. That's arrogance. To tell God got us all that is, that they created junk, that you don't matter. Do you see the arrogance of that now? And yet religion supports that, doesn't it? Religion says, yeah, you are a sinner, you are nobody, you don't matter. And you know what makes it believable inside of you is shame. The shame of your childhood that was never unprocessed, the shame of being, the shame of doing. And I'm going to talk about shame in a couple weeks on my emotional intelligence series. The third one is a lack of affect. A lack of affect. Lacking emotional depth. Not being connected on an emotional level, being severed, being disconnected, rising above your emotional nature, a lack of emotional depth, because you need to have an emotional connection and a depth to that connection. And when you don't, it's really hard to let yourself feel the compassion of your spirit. The fourth thing that keeps your compassion asleep is being judgmental. Being judgmental. Because, you see, that's one of the things that the ego thrives upon. It's all about differentiating. It's all about separating. It's all about what makes me different from other people, what other people are different, and that scares the ego. Anything that's different is a threat. And so judgment is something that comes out of that. And what it does is it separates. It separates. And you see, Religion has created a judgmental God, and God doesn't judge. God is all that is, loves and allows you to create your own reality. It never ever judges you. Ever. We judge ourselves. We say, I don't deserve the love. I'm not worthy. We judge ourselves and keep it from God is all it is, which they let us do because of free will. But they're waiting for you to come home. They always say yes. But we judge ourselves, and that's what keeps us separate. Because that's what judgments do. They separate. When I judge my emotions, I judge my anger. Oh, anger is bad. It's unspiritual. It's wrong. I put a label on it, and I shove it down into my unconscious to separate from it. When I judge another person as unworthy of my attention, or I judge another person, I slap a label and I push them away. All women are, all men are, all Asians are, all black people are, all blah, 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 blah. It's a way to not see this person standing in front of you, to blind yourself to them, to their uniqueness, to their individuality, and to slap a label and shut down. Judgments shut down communication. They separate. And ultimately, the reason to stop judging, because if God is not going to judge you for the rest of your life, or ever, if God will never judge you, then why stop judging? Because judgments hurt. All judgments, spoken and not even spoken, thought, those that are just thought, always produce pain. And they always hurt through separation. Because that's what separation is. A separation is a longing for and being separated from. Produces pain. And so the reason to stop judging is a character. It's a principle about who do I want to be in life. Do I want to be a person who's hurtful? And if I don't, if I want to be a person who's contributing to the healing of the world and not being hurtful, then I need to let go of my judgments and be understanding. So the reason to let go isn't because you're going to be judged by God, isn't because you're bad and wrong. It's because they hurt. And I don't want to be a hurtful person. It's part of my principles. It's part of my character. It's part of my spiritual grace. And that's the reason to stop. Does that make sense? So judgmentalness is what isolates you from compassion and from your spirit and from your soul and from God. God is all that is. It separates you from life. And the opposite of judgment is to discern. See, a judgment doesn't discern. It just, oh, you look a certain way, I'm going to decide that this is who you are and slap a label on it. I'm not thinking, feeling, evaluating, and forming an opinion in the present moment for this person right here because I've judged them. And see, discernment is thinking, feeling, evaluating, and forming an opinion now. That's my discernment. Is this person is somebody I want to hang out with? This person is somebody who's toxic. And for me. Not for everybody necessarily, but for me. And that's okay. That's not a judgment. When you have evaluated, thought, felt, and decided, not just, oh, well, I don't like the way you look, or that's a judgment. Do you see the difference? To discern comes from soul. And it's about seeing what's going to be part of your evolution, what's going to support you on your journey, and what's not. And it's okay to say, no, this isn't going to work for me. Hanging out with this person isn't going to work for me. Because I've thought, I felt, I've evaluated, and I've come up with an opinion that this does not support who I'm becoming and who I am. And it would be like, somebody who likes to commiserate and talk about all their problems, what's wrong, and poor me, and blah, 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 and it just drains your energy. And we've talked about energy, and being around certain people raises it, and other people diminish it. And I'm going to decide that I don't want to be in a space where someone's going to suck my energy, take my energy down. So I'm going to choose, not making them bad and wrong, but to choose not to be around them. So judgment needs to be replaced by discernment. And that's the fourth thing. When my ego is riddled with judgments, that I will keep compassion and all of its many gifts and benefits from being a part of my life. The fifth one is self-importance and self-centeredness, where I'm only concerned about me. I'm only concerned about my needs and my wants, and getting what if I'm around other people so I can take something, I can get something, I can benefit in some way. It's all about what am I getting? Where love, when giving becomes exchanging. When I'm just giving and exchanging, I'm not really giving freely. Because giving freely, when you give of yourself, when you give without any attachment that, okay, now I've done something nice for you. Your turn to do something nice for me. I took you to lunch. Now you take me to lunch. That's exchanging. That's not giving. And when you can truly give, and compassion is giving generously of your light, of your presence, of your spirit, is giving automatically without thinking about what am I going to get. But to know that by just being loving and compassionate, I'm getting so much back. Because love is its own reward. Being kind and compassionate is its own reward. Because that spiritual energy flowing through me to that other person, it lifts and bolsters my energy. I benefit every moment I'm being compassionate. It energizes me. And so that is the fifth. What keeps you asleep is the ego's demand for self-importance and self-centeredness, which is an outspring of arrogance. You know, the arrogance I talked about in number 2 is self-importance and self-centeredness. The sixth thing is control and manipulation. I've got to be in control. I've got to be in control of other people. And I used to do that, you know, when I would talk in conversations with people, you know, connecting with somebody I don't know that well or somebody I'm getting to know, I would try to control their conversations. I'd put words into their mouth, you know, they'd be like getting ready to say something and I would come up with, and start saying, yeah, I know what you mean, because I wanted to feel like I understood them. And so I would kind of jump into the conversation and say what I thought they were going to say. And a lot of times they say, oh, no, that's not what I was going to say. And I'm like, oh. And I realized that was my way to try to control the conversation. Instead of listening, I was assuming, I was projecting. I wasn't listening. And we're going to talk about listening in a minute as far as how to become more a conduit of compassion. So that's the sixth one, control and manipulation. When I have that as an agenda, I'm not going to feel compassionate. The final one is a lack of spiritual awareness, a lack of understanding and spiritual awareness, to know that I am a spiritual being. And when I have only identified with my ego, I'm not going to see compassion as anything that is valuable. It's just more work to do on my spiritual path, and it's not work at all. It is being in alignment with your true self, with your empowered self, on the empowered journey that you can choose to go upon. And so those are the 7 things that keep your compassion from being a living, breathing part of your daily routine, to keep it asleep. And all of that is ego. From apathy, indifference, to a lack of spiritual awareness, from arrogance to self-importance, to control and manipulation, to judgmentalness, to refusing to have any emotional depth, is all the ego, which eases grace out of your life. It eases grace out of your life. And that is what keeps it asleep. So to do some thinking, reflecting, to look at, where do I get stuck? Where does my ego like to hang out? Am I arrogant? Can I let go of that and realize, no, it's not about being better than? Can I learn to value myself and to own my uniqueness and value? Can I be willing to be more present and conscious, which is so important in developing and becoming a conduit of compassion?